Today on Running to Him.
God does not operate on a whim. His plans are complete, even though they may be incomplete in our eyes. We will read through the book of Psalms for 6 months, and today we read Psalm 105, verses 14 through 27, and concentrate on verses 17 through 20. Psalm 105, 17 through 20 says, He sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. They afflicted his feet with fetters. He himself was laid in irons, until the time that his word came to pass. The word of the Lord tested him. The king sent and released him, the ruler of the peoples, and set him free. Now we move to the history section of this psalm, and where the psalmist shows God's power over nature and history. Today we'll look at Joseph and what he went through so that Israel would be safe in Egypt for 400 years. Now, I'm sometimes asked why God allows bad things to happen to good people. And that question is tough to answer without clearly understanding the complete story. We can sometimes guess, but by doing that, we're leaving ourselves to the chance of significantly missing the mark. In Joseph's case, the answer is pretty straightforward. God moved Jacob and his family to Egypt to protect them from what was happening in Palestine. During the 400 years the Israelites were in Egypt, what is now known as the Palestinian area, several nomadic groups, one known as the Amorites, lived in that area, and the Edomites, cousins of the Israelites through Esau. These groups were from a paganistic religious background, and God used the 400 years to judge them. See Genesis 15:16. But more granularly, why didn't God just tell Jacob to go to Egypt? That answer is that they would have either been killed or become slaves if he did. God was going to move them to some of the best agricultural land in Egypt, and in doing that, he needed an inside man. Joseph was that man. Now that answer begs another question. Does God allow people to suffer, the result being an advancement of his will? And the answer is yes. In Acts 16, Paul and Silas are arrested and jailed so the Philippian jailer and his family would come to Christ. The whole book of Job shows God allowing Satan to mess with Job. And we cannot judge God's action on our understanding. God's actions are often ineffable, meaning beyond our understanding or unable to be put into words. Now, I was diagnosed as having MS 6 months after leaving the Army. That diagnosis stopped my becoming an Army chaplain, but allowed my complete and undergraduate and graduate degrees to be paid for by the Army. I know now that God's plan for Tony and me was for us to raise our children in a different environment than in the Army. My strokes allowed me to gain the necessary experience in the ministry to become a Civil Air Patrol chaplain, and ultimately the chaplain assigned to the largest Air Force ROTC unit in the United States. It houses over 600 cadets and 13 active duty Air Force personnel. God does not operate on a whim. His plans are complete, even though they may be incomplete in our eyes.
Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.